You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast
delivering player experience news.
Let's go!
Holy freaking shiz. I can't believe I did this twice. I could have used the time I was doing that to pull up my own personal document, and yet I didn't. I don't have an intro, and yet I do. Welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 235. Just 15 away from 250. Can you believe it? I am one of your hosts, video essayist, and video producer at DualShockers, Christian Macias, and I'm joined over Discord via the internet by Kentucky's #1 Spartan, PXN founder, Dan is DTM, Daniel Prindle.
I can't believe it's not butter.
So what is that, by the way?
What is what?
So, okay, well, it's margarine.
Margarine is not butter.
Okay.
but it's so butter-like that you can't believe it's not.
The voice you're not hearing. There you go. He chuckled. There you go. That little chuckle. You wonder who that is? It's not God. It's the president of the Tifa Lockhart fan club. He's a Nintendo aficionado and artist extraordinaire at Roro.
Hello, hello. The only person on this podcast who doesn't play video games.
Hell yeah.
A video game podcast.
Not video game.
Asterisk. and one half of the Men in Gitch podcast, Battlefield's bad boy, Tarkov Teletubby himself. #1 Caesar fan from the Apes movies, Gage Dempster.
Apes together, strong.
Oh man. Oh. What a
Did you
line.
ever if you could talk to young Christian and be like, "Hey, that you're gonna hear a line like that and it's gonna hit you," you'd be like, "No, that's not possible."
This is such an aside, but when Caesar says what he says at the end of the first movie, just one word.
Right?
Oh my god.
Yep. I wish that was the last line of the film and not James Franco repeating it, and then you know what I mean? Like that was such a. I feel like they could have cleaned it up in the editing. But anyways.
Spoilers.
Ro and I love that too, right, Ro?
Yeah, when he said the apes are planeting, that was really good.
This is our planet now.
What are we, some kind of Planet of the Apes? Thank you to everyone watching us live and participating in the chat. Let us know what you think of the Planet of the Apes movies. Just as a reminder, however, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/@podcastpxn. Simultaneously at twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. Topic of the show this week is the PlayStation 5 Pro and the console refresh. Do we need it? Let's find out. But first, there you go, Ro. Hands up in the air. We don't know. Shrug. As always, nuanced conversation is going to end with, who knows? Time will tell. But until then, the show always starts with a quick bite. So let's go ahead and jump right in. False flag, housekeeping. Back from the dead, Twitter has granted me access back to my old account. RIP_@ISOChristian. Long live @ISOChristian. He's back, baby. And the method I used to get it back is actually insane. I can't believe it worked.
Can't believe it's not butter. That's crazy.
Okay. All right. Enough.
DM Christian if you need your account unlocked.
Yeah. I know. Apparently, I know the tricks. You know what else I can't believe? I can't believe that Aspyr fumbled yet another remaster, this time with Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. They took an old game, all I needed was some polish, some new servers, you know? And they couldn't even do that. 10,000 people playing online on launch night with only 3 servers. 64 slots in total per server. About 200 players able to play the game. Multiplayer did not work. Price tag of $35. Once it did work, by the way, there were so many issues that, hit detection was off, lots of rubber banding, people being dropped from the game, lots of lag, just an absolute nightmare. And then news came out following day or two that they also plagiarized in the development of the game that they used for promotional material. Thank you to Skill Up Again, by the way, who I watch their stuff every Wednesday just to get a pulse on the industry for anything I missed or just kind of deeper dives. Apparently, the person that did the original mod from Battlefront that Aspyr plagiarized from, actually didn't mind that they used it, and kind of thanked them in a way, and was like, ultimately was like, hey, well, I mean, all the original assets belong to Lucasfilm anyway.
Right. Pretty disappointing stuff. It's kind of hilarious that I had to read this multiple places because it seems like this was a fumble on like Canadian government levels of just incomprehensible, where the game launches with 3 servers, 64 players each. I don't know how that happens. I just can't wrap my head around that. It's kind of hilarious. Also, more funny is that the original game currently works on Steam and is playable and is running. That you can boot it up right now and it will run with any hardware. So the fact that they did a remaster and it's not working is kind of, I don't know. Is gaming back? No, it's not. Not yet.
Yeah. Well, in this regard, no. Later on, though, maybe
We're so
Maybe.
back later.
we're so back. You know what else is back? Among Us, back in the zeitgeist. We got some casting news for the Among Us animated show. Randall Park will be voicing Red. Elijah Wood voicing Green. Yvette Nicole Brown, who I know from Drake and Josh, also fuck you, Dan Schneider and Brian Peck, is voicing Orange. And Ashley Johnson voicing Purple.
Very
Hell yeah.
cool.
Is it? Is this gonna be good? I don't think so.
Oh god. Is
It'll
it
be better. It'll be better than Fallout. That's my bet right now.
Oh, it
You-
does say it's animated, yeah.
Whoa.
Everyone's
Oh.
jumping the gun on this Fallout thing. I have not seen a single clip that indicates Fallout's gonna be bad. Everybody's just being haters for
Well,
literally no reason.
Then I'll tell you what. Right now, we got some news today. We got a sneak peek at the Fallout show.
Mhm.
I saw the clip, and I have no thoughts. Out of context, I decided out of context, I can't be a hater. I should probably just watch the actual damn episode before I have a sustained opinion. But the clip is out there for you to watch and enjoy. So feel free to look that up if you.
Yeah, everybody's talking about the writing. I'm like, this character's written in a way that's how that works.
That's on purpose. Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's on purpose. This
Well,
person
okay.
has literally lived in a sheltered environment while the rest of the world has crumbled, and now they come out and they're talking just so. And that seems like that's on purpose. Was that not how? I don't know.
I thought it was clear that's on purpose.
I thought so too, but apparently not. Everybody's losing their minds. Everybody's saying that it's Halo all over again. We'll see.
Well, wait a
Just
minute.
wait.
Wait a minute. Let's not dog
wait.
Halo here. Come on. now.
Whoa,
Leave Halo out of this. Leave
Suck
John
big
out.
ass, Dan. Suck big ass. Remember that
Jeez.
line?
Wow.
Is that from Halo?
That is a real line from Halo. Dan forgot about it, I guess, because he thought I was insulting him. But
Suck big ass. I don't remember that line.
it's what
When was
one
that?
Spartan says to another Spartan, unironically, in Halo show.
That's when their little inhibitor pill wore off or whatever.
Oh dear.
I don't know.
Anyway, speaking of bad dialogue, Ubisoft is starting to use AI in-game character development. Sorry, I just started reading a tweet halfway through. I just stopped doing words. They're using AI to create dialogue that players would interact would see when they interact with NPCs, and it is demonstrably bad. The example they use is really fucking bad. I'm just gonna read it. This is a character you're running into. His name is Bloom. By the way, the goals for your player are to 1, speak to Bloom, 2, make Bloom happy, and 3, get closer to Bloom. It seems like the AI usage is far beyond just the dialogue itself and into different that's just weird writing for goals. Anyway, here's the line or the lines. Bloom says, "Hi, you must be Nelson. I can't believe you're finally here. I'm Bloom, your future teammate in the Resistance. By the way, I figured out we could spend some time together to check if we have a compatible vibe. You know, to build our dynamic duo. How does that sound to you?" And my immediate reaction was it's not terrible. It's passable. It's obviously something's fishy. It's a little bit weird in instances. The problem is that come on, what are we doing? If we're not using the creation of games as a means of craft to explore and have voices be heard, and we're just cutting cutting corners in the wrong way, in my opinion, then what's the point? I don't want to read dialogue written by no one.
Yeah, I completely agree. I realized that me and Christian both made videos on AI this week with his video on the Premier League and mine on stuff. But yeah,
Plug it. I want to hear it. What is it? What's that? I want to hear.
It's on art, just on art in general.
He's underselling it. It was a fire video, and I don't even like manga.
Thank you. But yeah, I think I agree that we are cutting corners in the wrong way, and that AI could be used positively if it's used to elevate the artists in the first place. I would like it if it's not used at all, but there are ways that I guess could be used, that you can use it and have been used in the past. Is this AI isn't new, but the way that it's being implemented right now and how it's replacing actual jobs is what upsets me the most. And it's not even good. Like, if it was good, I could be like, okay, I see the appeal, but it's not even good. It's written so, it's so stiff. Like, you could tell that nobody wrote this. And even if it leads to more options, I would rather have less options written by real people that are more engaging and fun than unlimited options that are stiff and boring. And this seems stiff and boring to me. Even if it gets better later on, I wouldn't want it either.
I think the other thing is like, of all the stumbling blocks that video games have during development, I'm pretty sure that writing and like performance capture, like I feel like that would be one of the easier things to do. Like, so like, can we not use AI to like help with like some of the more difficult parts of game development, like to help the, you know, engineers and help the people building the actual game? Like, it's insane that they're even using AI for like one of the quote unquote easier parts. And I don't mean easier as in like it's anyone can do it. I just mean like it happens quicker. Like, writers are getting stuff done well before, you know, the engineers are done programming and everything else.
No, you bring up an excellent point. It seems it's hard not to feel like it's done with any malice or something like that, because it feels like they're going after the more sort of creative aspects with AI first, as opposed to, like you said, I would think that in a pipeline like a video game where you've got this 4 or 5 year sort of huge development process that you have to undergo, that you'd use, if you were going to use AI, you'd use it to like sort of maybe lay a foundation for certain systems or certain functions, and then come in and have your talented developers build off that, smooth any edges over. Because yeah, I've never heard of a video game getting delayed. It's like, we're just having trouble, you know, our actors are really unruly on set, you know, we're just having really lots of big issues in the mocap studio. It's just it never happens, right? And then, and like you said with writing, that stuff, from what I understand, because of the pipeline of a video game, like that stuff's usually done, you know, first and sort of in the at least in the first half of that sort of process. So it's kind of really disappointing to see this. It's not surprising that it's fucking Ubisoft, because it seems like whenever there's some sort of new technology or new frontier in video games, Ubisoft is always the one there when it's the wrong thing or it's sort of being misused. It's always Ubisoft standing there, and it's so characteristic of them to do it like proudly as well. That's also like a Ubisoft trait, I feel like. But yeah, this is kind of silly.
Speaking of AI, we got to look at Amy Hennig's Marvel's 1943 Rise of Hydra today. And I bring up AI as the segue for one particular reason. Some backstory, of course. Ro mentioned about how, I mean, all three of you guys mentioned about how many industries use AI in the technical side, right? And have been for a long time. Of course, there are great instances, usages of AI. In my video, I talked about Into the Spider-Verse, and how the artists use machine learning to help merge 2D inking with 3D renderings. And they, of course, did the art themselves, taught the machine how to render that art, so to merge the two, and then would go in after the fact and nudge all the inking to make it match eye shapes, noses, jaw lines, etc. Of course, we also have AI in The Last of Us. There's oh my god, all the AI in The Last of Us is insane, and that's on an experience side and NPC side, what have you. Today at Game Developers Conference, we got a pretty stunning look at Marvel 1943, Rise of Hydra, Captain America and Black Panther in World War II. And what interests me about this clip is that there was a mention of machine learning. The developer talks about how they trained, I forget, but these two, I think it was like Unity and then porting that Unity asset into Unreal. And what they use that for is material, clothing material, reacting to different lighting environments. And they use machine learning. Obviously they made the assets themselves, but they use machine learning to help render clothing in different lighting environments, which I thought was like such a fascinating aside that they just wanted to highlight, because it's impressive to look at when you're looking at the video of this clip. And then right after the fact, they talk about the incredible performances you're getting from both Captain America and Black Panther. And what we got to look at, it was just this couple of seconds of this clip of the two interacting with each other, no gameplay. Actually looks pretty freaking stunning.
Yeah, the art, I think the technical side of this trailer is really cool. I like the story of it too, but we could talk about what we thought of the actual trailer after. But yeah, I'm impressed by how it looks as well. So I'm excited, and yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say about the technical side. But yeah, I think AI should be used in this way. Like, this is what I would assume AI should be used for, to, again, like, help the people actually working on it make it even better, without doing all the work for you and getting, we talked about that already, but
yeah, I mean, like anything else is a tool, right? Like the internet, it has done a lot of great things. You got things like GPS, which saves people's lives and helps, people in perilous situations. And then it also brings 4chan. Like, there's a balance, right? Like, it's always going to be give and take. So AI is a tool, and under the right leadership and with the right sort of professional, they can use that tool to enhance it. Another great example for AI being used in something that's critically acclaimed would be Denis Villeneuve. He used AI in Dune Part 2 with the blue eyes. He used machine learning to help him fill everybody's eyes in with the sort of blue eyes that certain characters have. So it can be used in a quality thing and not really sort of take anyone's jobs away. It can just kind of be used as this thing to help. So it's cool to see that it was used seemingly like that in this. Because it does look gorgeous, and I did notice that there's certain shots of people moving and their clothes were sort of reacting very dynamic. I wonder if that's part of what you were talking about. The trailer of this, this is interesting because I'm somebody who has been on record as being totally marveled out, and I'm over it. I'm done with it. I watched this trailer and I was like hooked. I was watching this and I was like, the vibes of this trailer it more has to do with the fact that this is Amy Hennig, who is sort of someone who has proven herself to be a very competent, very skilled writer. And the vibes of this trailer are awesome. The casting's great. People have sort of already pointed out who is in the mocap room and the performances that we got. And this looks awesome. This looks totally cool. Don't know what kind of game it is though. Do any of us know what genre?
It's the same kind of Uncharted style, like third person linear pulp action adventure.
Right. With how the trailer was jumping out all over the place, and like it did say in engine, but it's also I feel like it's very clearly a in engine cinematic and not actually. I don't know. They kept saying in engine, and I was like, is this going to be like some sort of super high res Telltale thing where you're just kind of watching these mini cutscenes play out? I don't know. But if there is actual gameplay, like the camera, cuts back and you control these characters as you would in a normal sort of third person action adventure game. If that's the actual gameplay that we're getting paired with this kind of sort of level of cinematics, then I think we're in for a home run of a game here.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I watched this and I was like, I had the same immediate reaction. Right. I'm marveled out. I'm completely tapped out of the MCU altogether, and yet the vibes of this game, the performances, and Amy Hennig primarily was like, yeah, I'll check this out, no doubt, because Amy Hennig makes cool shit. She hasn't done it in a while because sadly, her shit got canceled.
Yep.
But just watching a couple seconds of this, I was like, oh, she's still got the juice, and I want to see another project from her. So yeah, I'm in.
Sam? Yeah, I'm kind of echoing what you guys are saying now at this point, but I agree. Even though it's such a short clip, I was watching this and I was thinking like, wow, this is the shit I'm missing from the MCU, which is like, it's weird to say that,
sure.
but it was, even though it's such a short clip, but it's true. Like this shit's it's just cool, like seeing Captain America interact with the Black Panther, seeing them fight is really, that's why I like Civil War so much, just seeing all these superheroes fuck around with each other. It's just cool to see that stuff. And I'm excited to interact with that in like a video game form. And like we've been saying over and over, Amy Hennig is the GOAT. So knowing that she's attached to this is even more exciting. And the performances are really, really good. So yeah.
Shout out to Carrie Payton, man. What an incredible, like, it's just a trailer, so it feels kind of silly to be like, oh, the performance is so great, because like it's just a trailer. But legitimately on the bridge when they start like fucking when he starts yelling at Captain America, I was like,
oh, shit.
Sign me up for like 3 seasons of whatever this is. Like, sign me up. This guy's amazing.
I take orders from no one.
Oh my god, it was so. I actually got goosebumps, and this is what's crazy to me. I was tapped out like 30 minutes ago. I was tapped out of Marvel, and here I am getting goosebumps from this performance. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you guys. I think visually it looks very impressive. I think I do want to see like what the actual game is before I get too excited. Because I mean, if it's a Telltale like experience, that's fine. But like, hopefully they would tell us that. But like, if this is like an action adventure game like Uncharted-esque, I would be interested to see like how these characters control differently, if they control differently. Are they just, is it like a brawler? Is it like, I'm interested to see that, because I think that's one of the problems that I have with Suicide Squad. I very much enjoyed the story of what we were playing in the beta of that game, but the characters to me didn't feel like unique enough. It was very much just a third-person shooter. So I would hope that they would make these characters all unique in their own respects. So Black Panther obviously isn't going to be the same fighting style as Captain America or these other 2 characters as well.
Yeah.
Based on what you said, it dawned on me something, Daniel. Based on what we know, or sorry, the speculation we know. That sounds, what a weird, that doesn't make sense, the speculation we know. Based on speculation from the leaks we've seen, that's better, from like the Spider-Man stuff, that there was a bunch of stuff cut and the story was rushed because Sony wanted it to launch before a certain date. We saw clips of Spider-Man and Venom fighting out in the streets of Manhattan, destructible environments, etc. The story was going to be different. That came out after the fact. And it made me realize something. I think I'm more excited for this Captain America Amy Hennig game than I am for Wolverine. I think this one might have more juice than Wolverine.
Interesting.
I think that's non-controversial, honestly. I think that's pretty. I'd agree with that. Because to be fair, the only thing we've officially seen from Wolverine is just the bar reveal of a guy sitting at a bar, and then
the huge amount of leaks from that game as well.
Sure, I guess, yes, but I mean, like, yeah, I don't know.
It's obviously it's not polished or finished yet, but
right.
Yeah.
I'm just like having feel. I'm just like betting,
Yeah.
I would take that bet. I mean, as in, like, I would be on your side. I also agree with that,
right.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Which also is it? I mean, this kind of seeing that
skating back.
Yeah. Seeing that leak about the Insomniac stuff, about how Sony kind of made them pivot, is kind of like validation for all of my criticisms of the story.
Yeah.
I was like, this doesn't feel like quality, and everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. I'm like, no, like, they nailed it the first time. Why is it not clicking with me the second time? And then to learn after the fact that no, they pretty much came in halfway through and was like, yeah, cut it. We need this game shipped. And I was like, okay, so this makes sense as to why.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, that the second game did not match up in terms of story to the first game. Sorry.
Last quick bite. Got some breaking news right before the show started. This comes from Wario64. It's the first time I saw this. Usually I get it from like film updates or something. A live action The Sims film is officially in the works with Margot Robbie as producer and Kate Herron as director.
What has she done, Kate Herron?
Let's find out. I'm unfamiliar with Kate Herron. Smear, Rest Stop, Assembled, what is this? Oh, that's the Marvel thing. That's the documentary. Nothing that I'm familiar with.
Interesting.
What is Smear? Is that that's a TV show? I don't know. But sure, why not? I don't know. Margot Robbie as a producer usually picks good projects to pick up, so we shall see. All right. Let's what is the thing Daniel said? Let's run over some street meat. A leaker who accurately detailed Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer claims that the internal release date is February 18th. This 18th? 2025, which is insanely soon. That is less than a year away, if true.
Yeah, I'll jump on this because I threw this into the doc. Yeah, it's interesting because I was looking into this guy who this is one of those things similar to the Red Dead Redemption 2 leak. Well before Red Dead 2 was even announced, where it's not something that anybody realized until after GTA 6 came out. But this guy on November 19th, so this is well over 2 weeks before Rockstar put up the trailer, and they put it up early. So well before, this guy pretty much detailed the entire trailer, said that, he named the song that was going to be used. He named, those are going to be ladies dancing on cars. You're going to see a news report of a car flipped upside down. You're going to see a crocodile run out of a pool. And more importantly, the dead ringer for me is this. Well, he said that you're going to see the two characters in bed with each other, which we did. And then also his username, he deleted his account, but his username was, well, look who's back, which is what the grandma says with the two hammers when she's standing there on the little reel that happened. So this guy obviously knows something, and I don't think Rockstar probably shares the trailer with all of its employees before the game comes out. So whoever this guy is, whether or not this release date gets moved, this guy clearly is in Rockstar at a senior level, I would assume, and probably knows what he's talking about, or at least is maybe like some sort of high-level consulting firm. But this gets me excited because if they are aiming for that early of a release date, it means that they're shaking things up in terms of tentpole AAA releases. And we know that a lot of people like to copy what Rockstar does, so maybe we'll see more big games release outside of that fucking tired, Q4, November, December release window.
Has that not been like the thing for a long time now? I feel like ever since the like late PS4 generation, that like even it's first it was like moving back to summer, and now it's been like February and March for like at least like the past 3 years.
There's been some games. I don't know about like I guess technically Rockstar is a third party. I think of them as it's funny. I think of them as a first party. But yeah, you have your huge games like Elden Ring that come out sort of offbeat. But I feel like most of the games that are from Sony or from Microsoft or from Nintendo still launch.
I get what you mean.
Yeah. But you're right. No, technically within their caliber. I just always think of Rockstar as a first party, even though they're not. They don't have a console. But
they could release March 32nd, and they'd sell a shit ton of copies.
I will say Red Dead launched in October and GTA 5 in September, so they still have a history of doing that Q4 release thing, right? So I think this is a little different for them. But either way, I'm more excited that this is soon and that this guy seems to be at least somewhat legit. So, February?
And until you remember how many times Red Dead 2 was delayed.
Sure.
True.
So.
True. Are we
I got a feeling
delayed release date?
Fair.
What's your feeling, Christian?
Okay. Valid, Daniel, but I got a feeling this is closer than we think. I don't know. They've been cooking for a long, long time.
I'm with you. I think we're already seeing their change. I think we're already seeing their change of. I think we would have heard about this game. Like if Rockstar was just doing what Rockstar did before, we would have heard about it and it would have already been delayed. Like I think I can feel it. I think that this is probably what the release date is going to be.
See, they have and haven't had a lot of time because, like we talked about a few weeks ago, developers no longer do the multi-team approach. So they used to do multi-team approach where Rockstar North would handle GTA and then Rockstar San Diego would handle Red Dead Redemption. But as we've seen with Red Dead Redemption 2, they are all hands on deck now. So essentially, I mean, the full weight of the studio has only been working on this since 18, 19, whenever Red Dead 2 came out. I forget.
I think that was 18.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, 7 years or almost, I guess, depending on what time frame it comes out in 2025. 7 years sounds like a lot of time, but then it really doesn't when you look at other games that are taking forever nowadays, like Starfield, like Halo Infinite. Like, I mean, there's a million games that have taken far longer. Skull and Bones, of course, that's not not really a good story, but I don't know.
If anything, maybe this is an old internal release date. Maybe that was the previous. And if there is a delay, it was like an internal delay that we don't know about, and like it got pushed back like March or April at some point. I don't know.
I think it's coming. I think it's coming soon.
Let's make predictions right now.
I'm so here for it. You want to go up against the Lisan Al Gaib? Okay, let's go. Let's make predictions.
I'll go February with Gage. I'll back him up.
I'm gonna say.
Are we doing exact months? Or okay? All right.
I'm gonna say October.
October 2025.
No wait.
No
No
way.
wait. Sorry, September. I'm gonna say September. September.
A month earlier.
Is it gonna be February? Or is it gonna be March? I'm gonna say February 15th to March 15th. I'm still got a 1 month window, but I'm gonna cheese it.
It comes out February 14th.
You're such a bitch, dude. Commit. Why don't you commit?
Okay, February. I'll go. I'll snuggle up with Christian. I'm gonna say February.
The least amount of days in a month you chose.
Roshan, you got to give us a month.
I'm gonna go with March.
Okay.
March the 2nd.
Mark this on your calendars, everyone.
Mark it.
I just
wrote a
wrote.
doc right now. Yeah, exactly.
I just wrote it down. Yeah. How'd you know? Okay, well, while I finish this up, I'll just move on to our PXN news of the week, guys. I'm worried about Bungie, and I'm worried about Marathon. Got a lot of news coming out this week. Where to begin? Let's begin with this. Let's begin with changes in leadership. That second one there.
Changes.
David Bowie. I learned this from Paul Tassi. Of course, this was, I think the official report was from Rebecca Valentine in an IGN article. There was a change up in leadership that happened at Bungie regarding Marathon. Paul Tassi writes, last we heard, Chris Barrett was the game director. That was announced in May 2023. Apparently, right after, that was no longer the case. Who is this? Ziegler.
Sorry.
What's his first name? Please.
I'm trying.
Either way.
Rachel?
Not Rachel Ziegler. No. The game director changed pretty much immediately after. Barrett was now listed as Joe Ziegler. It was the official game director at some point right after. And Barrett was now listed as executive creative director. Barrett is now listed as executive creative director at Bungie. No longer the games director of Marathon. So that's strange. And the fact that Bungie just didn't announce this, and it was only after Rebecca Valentine learned it, however her means were, and reached out to Bungie for comment, that then Ziegler came out publicly on Twitter on his own accord, I guess, and announced it publicly. Otherwise, it would have been Rebecca Valentine pretty much breaking this, which is a little bit nutty. And with that change meant Marathon now, in its development, has changed a little bit. It's still an extraction shooter, but it's no longer like what it was. It's going to be like a similar to like Destiny, where you create your own character and kind of shape your person in this world. That's no longer the case. Under Ziegler, you are now seemingly going to choose the game is going to have a selectable cast of heroes, which people are not as enthused about. Similarly, the core gameplay loop of Marathon is now as follows: choose your missions to be completed in the game. You buy and choose your loadout, perks, abilities, and gear. Drop into the server. Hunt for loot. Complete missions. Explore and find secrets. Extract. Spend XP on updates. Repeat. Which is largely the extraction shooter gameplay loop.
Yeah, I think people are. I don't. It's funny how the extraction shooter is kind of the genre is around, but still hasn't broken into the mainstream. Because I've noticed that it seems like I don't know if a lot of people have actually gone really deep into an extraction shooter because everybody seems to be upset. The big thing I see with this switching to classes is that they're losing player expression. I don't get to build my character, but a big part of what makes a compelling extraction shooter is not really about player expression. That's a part of it, but it's about gear-based extraction. Like you're taking out things from the game, from the match, that you can then equip to your better armor, better helmets, better this, better that, and that's kind of like a really integral hook to an extraction shooter. I mean, we're seeing, as we've all mentioned, we all love Helldivers 2. It's fantastic, but like one of my criticisms has been like, hey, there kind of needs to be more, reason to try and survive a match as opposed to just finishing the match. I don't know. If you're gonna build a game around the extraction genre and double down on it, classes seems like a very preset classes specifically seems like a very strange choice. I don't know how that's gonna work out. It seems like a bad move, and it seems almost like they're I don't know. I don't even know what the design philosophy is behind it. Maybe they've got they're cooking. Bungie's been secretly cooking, and that's why Destiny hasn't. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, Ziegler is also the previous game director of Valorant, which is very much like if you're going to distill it down to a word, hero shooter, I guess is one way you could put it. But yeah, right. That game is very much revolving around not just the guns you're buying in the game per match, but more specifically like what character are you choosing to use abilities that'll give you the edge over different characters. Much like an Overwatch as well. Like if you pick a character for their abilities. I don't know how that would work in a marathon setting, like what they're doing there in that regard. Obviously, Destiny is very much a choose your class, and that'll define how you play Warlock, Titan, or Hunter. But I don't know. I guess this does make me less enthused about what kind of game it could have been. I read this and I start comparing it to other games that I haven't stuck to for a while. I mean, even Destiny in that regard, like that game hasn't grabbed me. I look at Destiny and like, what did they introduce? They introduced the surf/skateboards that you can skate around and a Ghostbusters vehicle. Not a lot of gameplay changes that have made me want to come back. To be honest, a lot of monetization on that front, and I see changes like we're choosing heroes, and the first thing I think of is like, I can't wait till they start doing more heroes that I have to like purchase, or you know what I mean? Like I start equating these things to like monetization all of a sudden, and I start seeing the like the money side of it as opposed to like, well, let's just make the thing cool first before anything else. Granted, this is all just me talking out of my butt since we haven't seen a look at this game beyond the teaser, but still, I don't know. I tend to not trust Bungie as much, and then we also got news that. A lot of the senior executives, I think it was senior executives, are pretty much rushing out of the door in the next year or two. Seemingly, if and when Sony's takeover happens, they're just kind of trying to get these things out of the door so they can get a paycheck bonus and then leave. Which, again, as a fan of the creative side and not the business side, makes me worry about what kind of product we're eventually going to get if that is the case. Because generally, that doesn't lead to very good products, art, IMO.
I feel like maybe I'm wrong on this, but I feel like that part got maybe taken a bit out of context because I feel like that statement seemed to me to be more like the people like Christopher Barrett and like the leads of like these teams, not necessarily leadership, but like the people that are leading these teams that have been at Bungie for a long time are now getting these payouts as a result of the PlayStation acquisition in 2026. And that's why they changed leadership, not necessarily because they were wanting to hurry up and get the game out the door, because from what I was reading from this, it didn't seem like it mattered whether the game came out or not, right?
I'll just read you the quote from the article. Within the company, Rebecca Valentine's article. Within the company, there is a growing expectation that senior company leadership will leave in droves in the summer of 2026 when the final payouts from Sony's acquisition of the company take effect. With this in mind, there is a strong push to get Marathon out the door before then and let whoever takes the reins after that, be it Sony or Bungie, worry about how it's sustained.
So that's the feeling from employees that are working there.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In essence, it's hearsay. But yeah.
That's why I took it, because Christopher Barrett has literally worked there since 1999. He worked on all the Halo games. He's worked on Destiny, and it feels weird to me that Bungie would just randomly say, "All right, Christopher, you're no longer project lead on Marathon," a game that I feel like they would trust him with, and it has nothing to do with necessarily whether the game was successful or not, or whether it was doing well or not, or whether it was fulfilling their needs or not. It seems more like it was positioned as, well, Christopher specifically, obviously there's other ones like you're saying, senior leadership and such, but like Christopher specifically in this case would be owed a payout because of how long he's worked at Bungie in 2026, and they're worried that Marathon won't release by 2026. So if you have a project lead leave before the game's even out, that probably doesn't ode well to the game either. So in terms of like the game side of things, I feel like the change with leadership of Marathon specifically, I feel like wasn't necessarily indicative of anything, except they were concerned that he wasn't going to be there for the whole life of the game, or at least that's the way I took it, or life before the game comes out. I don't know.
I mean, I guess time will tell is my response.
Right. Either way, not good.
Either way, it's a little bit yeah, I was gonna say it's a little bit worrisome.
It seems like Bungie's definitely past its golden era.
And Gage made a really good comment in the DMs, and like when I shared the Paul Tassi thing, the snippet from Valentine's article, and said, "Cool, these are the these are the guys that helped assuade Sony to cancel Naughty Dog's Last of Us Online project."
Yeah.
Again, we only have speculation there. We don't know how that was shaping out, but still, like when I look, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When I look at like all the turmoil, I guess, happening at Bungie over the past couple of months, I can't help but think about like, well, okay, are these the guys really that are dictating the entirety of Sony's live service? Like, oh, come on.
Definitely not anymore. I don't think. I think
Oh, no.
it's the sentiment within Sony, because I think we've seen some articles too circulating from that the sentiment within Sony seems to have soured on Bungie. But I mean, obviously they were in some way consulting and giving feedback on the Last of Us multiplayer game that came from very legitimate sources that's what happened. So the weight of that decision, how much of it was Sony and how much of it was Bungie, that's up in the air, but Sony did look to Bungie to sort of give notes on the Last of Us multiplayer game. And yeah, it's unfortunate because I can see why in Sony's, again, looking through the business sort of corporate lens, like, oh, Bungie created this huge product that's a live service game, so therefore they must know. But as Dan always brings up on this podcast, that studios change, and employees and people and talent within studios change, and it's an ever-flowing thing. So the same Bungie that created Destiny and created this sort of live service format is not the same Bungie that we have today. So it is unfortunate that this Last of Us multiplayer game that will never see the light of day. Maybe it was totally different from everything that Bungie does, and maybe that was a good thing. I don't know. It's unfortunate.
It is time to check in with this year's fantasy draft. Of course, as always, the rules for I'm sorry. Yes, the rules this year for PXN have changed. This year, a winner for PXN's fantasy draft gets a custom controller, while the loser has to eat 10 hot wings. And never before has the competition been this serious amongst the crew. With all that said, a game from Gage's list. Last
Finally.
year, fourth place Gage. It's his
All right.
gets his first game on the board. That is Dragon's Dogma 2 reviews poured out from this game. They started out relatively higher. I think the highest I saw was 92 on OpenCritic. They've settled a bit lower. It's now at 89. And as Gage noted for a brief second in the pre-show, it seems like most knocks against this game have been performance side on consoles, not on PC, consoles. 89 points, OpenCritic. So far, I would net him 19 points? Yeah, 19 points. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it for now. This is only the beginning.
I mean, it is. Of course. There's a lot of games left here that could get you a lot of points.
Well, the good news is he can't do worse than last.
All right.
What did he end with last year? Should we say?
I think we should, yeah.
Only fourth place Gage, and that really
14.
Oh shit! 15 points last year, dude. That's crazy.
In one game, you've already got more points than last year.
Daniel?
You know
He's
what?
looking up this year.
Combine it with last year's 30 or the previous year's points of 32 points. He might be beating both years combined here shortly.
That is crazy. 2022, all of us in triple digits. Gage, 32.
Mr. 3-week-old haircut. Listen here.
Is this his year?
This is my year.
That could be anyone's year.
Wait.
So far, though,
Who was at the top of both of those years?
Oh, here we go.
I wouldn't load. So
It was so many points.
all right, you dick. That's pretty good. That's actually pretty good. So far as things stand, assuming the 89 points solidify, Gage will be in fourth with 19 points. Daniel in second. Sorry, not second. Third with 23. Myself in second with 32. And Ro far ahead in first with 80.
Whoa.
Slow down, big boy. You'll upset your stomach. All right, let's see what's going on with I can't come up with a cool transition. Master Chief, what's going on there? Let's check in with Halo, the series.
Episode 7. I don't even think Gage told me his thoughts on episode 7, but I will say that episode 7 was one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. Like, I thought it was a very good episode, well paced. I continue to love Ackerson's character, and I think the actor who plays him does a really great job. They had a lot of cool references in this episode that people haven't even noticed, I don't think. One of the elite's names is Uto Mdama, and it's like a reference to Halo 5's character, Joel Mdama, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, the end of the episode, which has the light bridge, and spoiler alert, turn off the next 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it. The flood tease at the end is very exciting, and the little tease we got of the Forerunner city underneath all the ruins. Oh, I'm excited for tomorrow's episode, for the finale.
Halo's getting good. Is gaming back?
Well, I don't
Is
know. Let's hear
gaming back?
Let's hear Gage's response.
It was pretty good. I don't know. It was, yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. I don't know. It's I don't know. I can't help. It's a me problem. I can't help but think of what could have been. I can't help but think. Is this better than season 1? Absolutely. By a mile, by a country mile. Is it the Halo show I want? I don't know.
Yeah. It's like saying, man, This Wendy's burger sure is satisfying, but is it a gourmet burger?
Grilled meal? Exactly.
See, but
exactly.
that's the difference also though, because like our opinion on the Last of Us show is very different too, because I very much enjoy all the new stuff in the Last of Us show rather than just seeing a rehash of it. Like I'd so much rather see them experiment and try something new rather than just show exactly how it happens in the games, because then I'm constantly in my brain trying to compare exactly to the games at that point. I personally, and obviously, Gage, you've talked about having an issue like separating the two or whatever, which totally understandable. I personally have separated the two completely from my brain, the game and the show. I just, there's too many differences for me to look at the show's Master Chief and say, yeah, that's Master Chief. It's not at all. Pablo Schreiber's Master Chief is not, Steve Downes' Master Chief. And I've come to accept that. But like, giving what we have in the show, like I am judging just on what I am seeing in the show, I've enjoyed it. And that's this season in particular. And like, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm more optimistic and more positive than others, but I just I try to look at what we have rather than what we don't have, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Correct. I wish I could do that, but I cannot.
Fair enough.
Ro isn't watching because they said they're trying to make Master Chief woke, and he's not about that.
I hate that shit. SJWs, get out of here.
The first thing Ro messaged me when the season premiere, he's like, "That's not my Master Chief." And I was like, "I see where you're coming from."
Oh my god! Please don't.
Daniel,
no one listen, believe that.
yeah. Satire. Daniel, what you got for me?
Just more Halo Infinite. However, I will say yesterday they dropped a huge update, which is really awesome. We're finally getting the brand new networking overhaul that they've been working on for a long time. That finally came out. They've got easy anti-cheat for PC now, which is the same anti-cheat they use for Master Chief Collection, which helps with that. We got a bunch of weapon tunings and a bunch of cool stuff for Firefight to possibly expand the options that we have in Firefight in the future, with kind of creating more of a classic Firefight experience instead of just having Firefight King of the Hill, for anyone who knows what I'm talking about. But very exciting, very cool stuff. New squad battle maps. I'm excited about that as well. Get some classic maps back in there. So good stuff there.
Shen? Oh, nothing, I'm assuming, based on what you said at the introduction.
Nothing. I posted a video on YouTube, as I mentioned earlier, so I was doing that. I saw that Open Roads is coming to Game Pass at the end of the month, I believe. So hopefully I'll be able to play that. I'm not sure if it's before next podcast or after. I think it's after. But yeah, I'm excited to play that. So hopefully I'll get a chance to do that soon.
You should play Final Fantasy. Sorry, can I hear me? Oh yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, you should play Final Fantasy 7 this year.
Yeah, this year. Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully sometime this year, I will get around to that. Looks like a good time. Right now, I notice that I'm like gravitating to shorter experiences, or even though I'm playing Persona 3, but like things that I could play like in bursts, I guess. Right now, and I know when I play Final Fantasy 7, I'm just going to want to marathon that shit. So yeah.
You'd be surprised at how engaging the side content is.
Oh, okay.
It's awesome. I played Helldivers this week, checking out some of the new update. It's been great, by the way. Like, they made like such very smart balance changes to where like, not only is it fucking cool that I'm having to like maneuver through fire tornadoes to like complete an objective, but now it feels like the fight is much more balanced now, where like really like we're switching up the gear every single mission now and trying new stuff out and seeing what's going to work effectively for each mission independently, not like what is the meta. And that's made for such a like a fun experience. It's a different one that I'm really enjoying. And we realized when we played that, well, I realized that I was like very close to the platinum. I was 3 trophies away. And we did the first 2 easily. And then we were on the last one. The one that I needed to do was is to complete a blitz mission with 6 minutes left on the clock. Blitz missions are the ones where you have 12 minutes to get in, close a bunch of terminated holes, and then get out. And of course, calling in the evac takes 2 minutes. So you have 4 minutes to close X amount of holes. And you have to do this on extreme difficulty. We did this on suicide mission with 30 seconds to spare. And the trophy did not pop. We realized that you have to do it on, it's not extreme difficulty or higher, it is actually on extreme difficulty. So we're going to have to go bump a level down and do it again. But man, were we efficient. So yeah, I'll be getting the Helldivers Platinum next time I play. I also tried out The Last of Us Part 2's No Return. And let me tell you, was not fun. Uninspiring gameplay. It is. It made me wish that I could transfer over my save from the PS4 file to the PS5 and just do the encounters that I could click on as opposed to starting a new game. It was so boring. I'm sorry. I'm like the hunted missions where like you do waves of enemies. There's like 4 of them. I can't pick up 4 enemies per round. It's so boring, and you can't pick up their weapons when they die. So it's like whatever starting gear you get, and the rest is RNG based on like whatever the game decides you can upgrade after the fact. And Gage is right. Like you have like 19 seconds to loot everything before the round ends and you're sent back to your room. It feels pointless crafting all this stuff. Much less so the upgrades you get like on a run. I could not believe. I'm sorry. Like I respect the shit out of Greg Miller. I could not believe when I played this that he said this was better than Ragnarok Valhalla. What a sustained narrative Valhalla was. What an actual inspiration that was to turn a bite-sized narrative experience into like the roguelite formula. Compared to this, that it just feels like entirely shoot in. I'm glad it was only $10, but I still feel like I was ripped off. I'm sorry, like that was not fun at all.
Like and like I mentioned earlier, I'm curious to see if you agree with me. Like, it is like super low score to begin with, but even just the simple addition of like another player in that would just at least make it a little bit more interesting. You know what I mean? Like if it was you and somebody else, and maybe you had to, survive an onslaught of like, the enemy count is another thing. I don't even think I mentioned that because I just wasn't even thinking about it. But yeah, it's hilarious how it is just kind of like it'll just spawn 3 people in an arena, and it's like, okay, this is your challenge, survive. And you're like, oh, I wonder if I'll be able to. It's 3 people walking around talking to each other.
Yeah, and
it's
like
crazy.
There's a different game mode I think called this Assault. Sorry, not game mode, but like a variable, like where like they know where you're at when you spawn, and you have like 2 minutes in total to survive this encounter. But like even still, it's like 5 enemies max at any given time. And if you just crouch and hide, they won't press you. The AI in that game is like from the way the gameplay is like maybe one will eventually push you, but they'll mostly just shoot at you from cover from like a ways away.
Right.
So you kill one, and then one more will spawn, but they'll just spawn and go behind cover. So it's really not exciting unless I actually get out of cover and make the I pursue the action. Otherwise, I found it to be very uninspiring. I was very disappointed.
Base.
Gage.
I did not play The Last of Us No Return. I instead played a game worth my time, which is The Finals, which had a huge update. You guys talked about it last week, I believe. But it's dropped since then, so I've actually got into it. It's fantastic. They added this awesome 5v5 mode that, because of the super long time to kill and how everybody's health bar pops up. It gives me hints of like Overwatch in its heyday, where it just feels so fun and so frenetic, where you have sort of like some of these players are playing these sort of very light squishy characters that are running around, and meanwhile there's some giant tanky guys trying to hold down the point. The 5v5 mode is fantastic. There's pretty much this giant platform that's big enough to hold like 4 teams. There's only 2 teams in the match, but it's huge. It's a huge platform that kind of floats through the map. And what's cool, the one thing we've all consistently said about the finals that we all agree and love is the destruction and how snappy and how synced the netcode is for everyone. This platform, the team that holds it, it pushes it towards the enemy base, and if you get it all the way to the end, you win. So it's kind of like 2 teams trying to push the thing at once, kind of like your classic Overwatch
cool.
MOBA. But what's cool is that I'm pretty sure the path that it takes, the platform takes, is completely random because it cuts through the map like a hot knife through butter. It just glides through anything in its path, the giant buildings, structures, whatever. So it makes for this awesome game mode where if you're out in the open, you've got people trying to snipe each other, but then say like there's this map that has this giant cathedral in it. If the platform sort of makes its way through there, well then suddenly there's pieces falling down onto the platform and it's chaos. You can't see in front of you. There's debris and smoke everywhere. It's fantastic. The finals continues to innovate and to do these awesome things. One thing that they didn't really advertise, and that you guys obviously didn't talk about because, like I said, they didn't advertise, but they've also added seemingly a ton of free track contracts where pretty much it'll unlock week by week, but there's like these 7 challenges that you do every week, and then it locks, and then you have to wait to the next one. But completing them gives you a bunch of like free cosmetics, and there's no option to buy it. There's no option to try and skip it. They've just taken a game that was free to play and had microtransactions and was getting a lot of traffic, and then they just kind of added this, oh, here's a bunch of stuff you can also earn for free that wasn't in the game to begin with. Very, very cool thing for these guys to do, and they could have not done that, and I don't think anyone would have noticed. So the fact that it's in there seems like a huge bonus. The finals is slowly becoming like my main go-to shooter game, and I love what the team's doing over there. It's fantastic. I recommend the 4 of us should try and squad up and play it. Like I said, the 5v5 mode is, like I said, kind of Overwatch, kind of arcade shooter. It's just great. The finals is awesome. Go play it. It's fantastic. Christian,
Should we play?
we should play it this weekend.
Is gaming
If you
back?
play the finals with me, I'll play Helldivers with you.
This is just an aside. But I've in the past week I've thought about Dan in the middle of the night like 3 times, and relax. And specifically, it was a clip that Gage showed me of Gage cutting like a zip line in the finals,
Fucker.
and Dan falling to his death,
Probably
yelling, "Probably fun!" Yeah,
Yeah.
makes you smile.
That son of a bitch. He cut it right as I was about to get to the fucking building, too. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, that was great. That was great. You know what isn't great? Hypothetically, theoretically, we don't know. The PlayStation 5 Pro. Folks, it's time for topic of the show. Guys, we got news on the PS5 Pro from Insider Gaming that was then, I think, backed up by Digital Foundry. I think we're the 2 sources that were kind of backing each other up this week. It's time to take a look at some of the assumed specs of the console and discuss whether or not, at large, we need this thing or console refreshes in general. We've kind of talked about this a little bit, but now that we have more sustained information, I feel like it's worth revisiting and asking the question again. I linked Insider Gaming. Maybe I linked it or not. I also have a separate article from IGN up. If I didn't link it, I can send it as well. This adds a little bit of extra context. From the leaked document, Insider Gaming notes that the PS5 Pro can render 45% faster than the base PS5, has 2 to 3 times ray tracing, 4 times in some cases, is capable, 33.5 teraflops, which I think contradicts what IGN has written down. I think IGN has 16 to 17 teraflops, so I'm not sure where the discrepancy is lying, but nonetheless, more than the base 10.28. It also features the introduction of PSSR, which is the proprietary PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution Upscaling, which essentially leverages its proprietary, I think, AI to upscale games from 1080p up to 4K. More on that in a second. Of course, sorry. What did I say? 4K or 8K? What did I say?
I heard 4K.
Thank you. Okay. Speaking of 8K now, though, supposedly the PS5 Pro can support resolutions up to 8K and is planned for a future SDK version. I don't know what that means. You know what that means? Standard definition 1000 version. I don't know what that means. Utilizes custom machine learning architecture, and this is where I actually think I would really enjoy a Mark Cerny deep dive into the PS5 Pro architecture at some point. I think I enjoy when Cerny does his presentations, so I kind of like learning about how just machines work in general. But also, I don't know, like the PS4 Pro wasn't marginally better than the PS4 base, and yet I don't know, when Cerny described it, like there is a little bit of like technical voodoo that happens behind the scenes, where like to overclock the CPU to get more juice out of the like original chip. But I digress. Also features an AI accelerator supporting 300 TOPS of 8-bit computation, 67 teraflops of 16-bit floating point. These are real words, guys. I'm throwing out, floating over my head. But we kind of had a discussion privately on Twitter. I'm trying to find. I can't believe I closed it, but I think it was down to the PSSR, which we had a discussion that was like, if the main goal of the PS5 Pro isn't performance side, we do know that it's essentially using the same chip. They are leveraging what is the base chip to like overclock it and get, I don't know, get more juice out of it. But it seems like the focus of it is to just make current existing games look better, not run better. And I ultimately fell on the side of, I don't know if spending assumedly like $500 on a machine like this is necessarily needed for me, especially not when I think about games that are currently coming out now, struggling to hit 60. I don't care about resolution in that regard. I'd rather them perform better. That's where I came down.
Yeah, I've mentioned this quite a few times on the podcast, but like, I don't know that I need games to look better than The Last of Us Part 2. Like, just the next Naughty Dog game can look exactly like The Last of Us Part 2, just run at 60 frames. And that's kind of like my mindset with video games in general. And this obviously seems to be the opposite of that. I'm wondering if the reason why we're seeing different teraflop, which, again, just a relative unit of measurement to give the power of the GPU. I'm wondering if the 16 teraflop number is the actual performance of the new GPU, and then the 33 number is, like I said, once you start accounting for all of its AI upscaling and super sampling that it does, that's sort of the number afterwards. I don't know, but yeah, super kind of disappointing to see that this is the way that they're going, where they just kind of want to crispen up the images, I guess, and upscale resolution. Just a reminder to everyone at home that resolution does not equal art style, does not equal beauty, etc., etc. Like, there are lots of games that have incredibly gorgeous visuals and atmosphere and color palettes that don't run at a super high resolution. So they're going all in on specifically the resolution, the pixel count, and that's definitely not future proof, and it's definitely not going to help the performance of games. And it's not, and more importantly, it's not going to unlock any sort of extra ground for developers to utilize. It's just going to make the product that developers are already working on look better on this new console. It's not actually giving developers any more legroom to create experiences they couldn't create otherwise. So, as somebody who, just a month ago was all hyped and, oh, do I need to get this for GTA 6? Like, this has kind of clearly made the answer no, I do not need to get this, and no, you probably shouldn't get it either.
I have to add before anyone else speaks too. I forgot to mention that PSSR will only work if developers independently push out an update for that. So they have to do work on the back end, of course, to get to the work. But that means like older games that are already out, big question mark for what games will actually leverage this, because not every developer has the means or money to go back and update previously released games to leverage PSSR. So grain of salt there.
I just want to point out, when we were first talking about this, I said a long time ago I wasn't getting a PS5 Pro, and here we are. But no, in all seriousness, I don't think that it's that surprising that this is what we're getting, because that's literally almost verbatim what we got with PS4 Pro. I mean, its goal was the same thing, was to improve resolution from 1080p to 4K, and in that generation.
Sorry, maybe you're about to touch on this, but like, did that not also like give us like improved not really resolution, improved performance as well? Like games on PS4 Pro did run better than PS4. Like I couldn't play The Last of Us in 60.
And that's the thing. It depends on what game you're talking about, because there's games that depend on CPU, there's games that depend on GPU, and that's an important distinction as well, because if you have a game like Starfield, for instance, which has a shitload of back-end systems and remembering where you put things and all this other crazy shit, it needs more CPU power. If you have a game like The Last of Us, for instance, it's very graphics intensive. It's got a ton of shit on screen. There's a lot of textures being loaded in. There's a lot happening graphically in that game. Like, I don't think anyone would say The Last of Us has any kind of crazy systems underneath it that are, running in the background. And I do want to say there is one small piece of this that I feel is interesting, where they say that the which I misspoke in our DMs, I realized after I said it, the GPU can be clocked down in terms of power by like 1.5% or something very minuscule, which then improves the CPU, or I'm sorry, not improves, gives the CPU 10% more power, which then allows it to overclock more than what it previously could. So it is the same CPU, but it's overclocking at a higher rate. So essentially that should unlock more performance for developers on the CPU side. 10% is what the number was. Which, what does that translate to in terms of performance on screen? I don't know. And I guess it'll depend
case by case, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it'll depend, what game we're talking about. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I've never really, the only one that I cared about getting a mid-gen cycle on was the Series One X, because of one fact. And that is that the Xbox One original couldn't even hit 1080p in many cases. We saw that with a ton of games. And the One X clearly fixed that problem and then some. So in terms of like visual aspects, that was what was attractive that generation. But this generation, I'm with you guys. I don't see the need for it, especially, one thing we're not talking about is this DLSS technology. I don't understand, and I'm not an engineer or anything like that, but I don't understand why this technology can't be used on current hardware. Like I asked the same question of like NVIDIA's graphics cards. Why can't that technology be used on, the 2080 or whatever? Because like it should just be on the software level of things going on. It's an AI basically interpreting what it's seeing on the screen and reformulating the pixels on the screen. Like, I don't know. It seems like money based, but I don't know, money driven. But
yeah, on the consumer graphics cards, that absolutely is the reason, I would say, right? Is that they want you to go out and buy a 40 series, so that's why DLSS 3.0 is locked to that, and if in DLSS 2.0 is locked to the 30 series, and then DLSS 1.0 is locked to the 20 series. it's interesting that because obviously Xbox and Sony have these huge deals with AMD. It is interesting that they wouldn't be able to just sort of like negotiate some sort of deal where, hey, we'll pay you a bunch of money just to let us unlock the software and XYZ. But even to your earlier point about like the Xbox One X sort of mid-gen upgrade, is that because that was the era before DLSS really took off and before super sampling and all these smart technology really came about, is that you were getting better internals with those consoles, right? That's the one difference, is that you were getting a better CPU, or at least a CPU that had more cores or higher clock speed or
Well,
et cetera,
no,
et cetera.
we were not getting better CPUs. Those were the same as
Better
well.
GPUs.
Yeah,
Better
GPUs. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, but yes, but for a gaming thing, that's what's important. But yes, you were getting better hardware. Whereas with this one, I wouldn't be surprised if what is it, RDNA 3 that's in the new consoles. I wouldn't be surprised if the GPUs in them is more or less the same. They've just added a chip that handles all the super sampling. In which case, you're kind of getting, oh, here's the new Mustang. It's the same engine except we've added this little compartment to it that makes it a little bit faster. It's like, well, then it's not really new, is it? I don't know.
It feels very much like iPhone 14 to iPhone 15. That's what it feels like. Whereas last gen, it felt more of a step. I agree with you.
What are the differences between those phones? Because I legit don't know. I don't know.
Not a whole lot, and I owned both of them. Yeah.
Sure, more incremental. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, Rose. Do you have something to say?
I was going to ask if you guys have ever. I know Dan said he did the Xbox, or was thinking about doing the Xbox Series X, right? That was
One
the one.
X. One X.
Yeah, the One X.
Yep.
But have you guys ever, like, before this PS4 generation, even, have you ever upgraded mid-cycle? Like the Xbox 360 had an E and the Elite, and PS3 had a Slim. Never? You guys know?
I did, yeah.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
I think I got the PS4 Pro. I think it was in anticipation of The Last of Us Part 2, I think it was.
See, and I think like the consoles like the E and like the PS3 Slim, I think those are different because those were like actually bringing price down, because I didn't buy my PlayStation 3 until the PS3 Slim came out because they dropped the price finally to a reasonable amount. So those, like, I'm fine with that kind of thing, like that kind of.
There's like no price drops of these, you know?
Right. Well, and unlike the current PS5 Pro rumors, which seems to be putting everything into the same chassis, like you just mentioned, Dan, those 360 era and PS3 eras, you also got a huge change in form factor, right? That original PS3 was a chonky boy. So when they came up with these revised ones, it's not just like, I was a kid, I was a teenage, late teens, whatever. Like I'm thinking of like an adult, like that's a reasonable upgrade to be like, hey, I don't want this giant barbecue in my living room. I'm gonna upgrade to have something a bit more tasteful. Yeah. So even those ones outside of the performance gains, which there were legitimately better hardware in those mid-gen upgrades, there was also a form factor appeal of like, especially for adults at that time, I could see that you'd want to be like, yeah, let's not have this really gaudy sort of ugly thing in the center of my living room.
The Xbox One, hell, the fucking original Xbox One was hideous, absolutely hideous console. And
a VCR, literally a VCR.
Yeah, and the One S and One X, I feel like everyone would agree is very nice looking hardware. Yeah. Like in comparison, like the One X was insane how it was the smallest console they ever made, and it was so powerful and it looked beautiful. Like that was
right.
Yeah.
So, as an aside, real quick, it'll lead into something. I had the original PS3, and the only reason I got the Slim was because the original died. Like it stopped working. So I had to buy a Slim, and I had to buy it used because, you know, back in high school I didn't have the money for a new console. The cheapest option was the only option I could afford, right? And I remember being so pissed because the console worked, but frequently it would either spit out my game, not during playing, but like when you would first put it in, it would like start ejecting it, and I would have to like slap the top of it for it to stay in. Which is just so funny. And also like in the middle of the night would just like spit out the game and try inserting itself back. So you just hear like, and GameStop wouldn't like switch it out. Like,
No.
they,
You
I was like,
broke
all
it.
right, well,
Like you did, yeah.
yeah, it was annoying, but all this to say that Gage bought the PS4 Pro in anticipation of The Last of Us. With that, I ask, what are we supposed to anticipate with a console refresh? Because I still, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before, have not gotten my PlayStation 5 money's worth out of my current machine. Most of the games that I'm playing on this at the beginning of the console were also available on the PlayStation 4. What games are leveraging my PlayStation 5? Astrobot and Returnal. Those games released in 2020 and 2021, respectively. Since then, what have I used this machine for, really? For first party, not third party,
Right,
for first party. Really?
In a strange turn of events, it might be Wolverine, maybe. Like if I try to think of like maybe they'll do something with like the blood and gore and like giblets and sort of blood physics, maybe like they'll kind of have some big thing where it runs better on PS5 Pro and then, but that's the thing is that even then it's like, well, does that work for you specifically? Is that going to justify it? I don't know. I don't know if we'll get something like that this console generation. It's an interesting question because yeah, I have to remind myself that The Last of Us Part 2 is a PS4 game because it's kind of crazy that it is, but I don't know. I don't know if there's been a single game that's justified this new hardware, which is unfortunate because the hardware of these consoles is genuinely impressive. There's never been a generation of consoles that have held their own this long against the equivalent that you could buy on a PC. Like these consoles are very powerful, and it is kind of disappointing that there hasn't been a whole lot of first-party games to really utilize that.
That is such a great point too, because thinking about this, like this could be like signaling a possible end of generations, so to speak. Because here's the thing: if you owned a PS4 and you never upgraded to a PS5, are you really out any first party games? Like you're saying, Christian, you're not right now. So if you owned a PS4 and you waited it out until now the PS5 Pro comes out in the end of this year, you literally didn't miss anything first party wise, and you're upgrading to a better console for maybe the same price. I guess that remains to be seen. It might be more expensive with the current market conditions and them actually increasing the price on the original PS5. But it's crazy to think that we might be getting to the point where we may start blurring the line of generations. They'll probably still call the next console PlayStation 6, but they're probably going to continue to do this trend of having a longer tail of the previous generation to get their money's worth of these consoles that, they're building.
I should take a step back as well. Like I was being hyperbolic. I completely forgot about a few other first party cases. Gage, thank you for Wolverine. Insomniac, of course, launched Spider-Man 2 as well
Ratchet
as Rift
Clank.
Apart. We forget about Ratchet and Clank, but also
Good point.
Polyphony Digital, Grand Theft Auto. I'm sorry, Gran Turismo, of course, leveraging the PlayStation 5. But yeah, first party side, like it's. To me, this signals more like a development issue as well. Like things just in game development are just way different than they were 10 years ago. There are an endless amount of factors as the reason why. I would pose another example of like a possible like reason to upgrade if you do have the original and like that might leverage it in more unique ways. Whatever the next Santa Monica game is, seemingly the Cory Barlog sci-fi one could be doing a lot of cool stuff. Probably utilizing the GPU on that front. I don't know. This is speculation. We haven't seen that game, but yeah. I should also mention, thanks to the Skillet video that I saw, there was a new Xbox hardware in Korea.
Yeah.
Apparently, because they have to. Any new piece of tech needs to be registered in whatever system they use. But there was a new Xbox, whatever that is. People just still don't know if it's a console refresh or just a new version of the current hardware. But there is a new Xbox now being sent to developers.
Are we thinking that's going to be just a discless Series X?
I think it's either going to be that thing that leaked a little while ago that was discless, or could be the handheld. Could be the handheld.
True. They just throw it into the same case. Because that's the thing, right? Is that, yeah, that's a really good point. Because they have all these shells for presumably for the Xbox Series X dev kit. If they were going to make a console that's smaller, there's nothing stopping them from just throwing it in the same thing and throwing outlets off, right? Is that it looks like it might be the next main big console, but it could just be a handheld dev kit. That's interesting.
My biggest takeaway this week from learning about mostly PlayStation side is that there's a philosophy in current Western gaming that I'm a little bit tired of, which is make the thing, sell the thing, with the promise of support coming later. I forgot to mention this in the show, but PSVR 2 is currently like holding off on production because there's a backlog of units that aren't being sold because obviously Sony isn't supporting that. There's one first party game on that console or hard piece of hardware. And it made me think about the next Switch and how apparently that was done for a long time. And Nintendo decided, let's hold on to the thing for a while because the Switch is still selling and there is no rush to get this thing out the door. In fact, they use that as a chance to polish games that they want to release on the next iteration of hardware. And that, I think, is... When I read stuff like that, Nintendo sucks as a company too. They have their own faults. There was also that news article that came out, like they manually copyright struck some dude from a video 7 years ago for a Pokemon VOD video. That's fucking shitty. Still, they do stuff like that, and I'm like, a reason to buy the hardware. Of course, I am now way more excited for the next Switch because they're utilizing that hardware to make cool shit that I would like to buy. On the other side, I still don't know.
And it's been 8 years since we've gotten another Switch
by
the time it comes out. Yeah.
Switch also being the only system that I've done an upgrade for with the OLED. With the OLED thing, because I love the games that are on there. I think those are like system sellers to me. But,
well, and you're somebody who has previously stated you are somebody who plays almost exclusively in handheld, so that is while that falls into the same trap as a mid-gen refresh that doesn't really add anything new to the table, because the one thing it does add is something that applies to you specifically. That would make sense that that's something that you would value. And we'll see. I think as what Christian said, holding back consoles and polishing the games that are supposed to launch for them is like kind of it's one of the few moves in the video game industry that I can't knock. Like that to me is just an overall good move.
So, do we need the console refresh? Who knows? Time will tell.
You're right.
Yeah.
You guys know where there's no console refreshes?
PC?
PC.
Yeah, there's just PC refreshes and updating your drivers and verifying your Steam files and
anxiety about cloning an SSD to take apart my PC so I can replace without like messing up the current cable.
Just clone it.
I'm scared. I don't know how to clone it. I'm like watching videos on how to do it, and it's like all these multiple steps. Make sure you're doing make it easy for me, dude.
Oh, cloning can be a bitch because I did that on my work computer because we got new SSDs and it completely broke my Microsoft Store, and I tried everything to get it back. Couldn't get it back. I had to start over from scratch.
It sounds like you did something wrong.
Oh. The IT guy did it wrong.
I'm scared. But until the console refresh happens, thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your pods. Thank you, Roshan. Thank you, myself. Thank you, Gage. That's Daniel. This has been Podcast PXN, and we are leaving.
Much love and keep on gaming.
See you.
Au revoir.
Happy first day of spring.